Hello everyone, and welcome to Scenario B, PBL, Higher Education by Alison Clark, Matthew Gorlick, Sara McKillop, and Clellia Sylvie. Starting off on the first page, Online Learning Delivery Approaches for Higher Education. Now, the self-study delivery approach makes up most of the online higher education programs. Information is posted or sent directly to students by the educator. Information may or may not also be conveyed through a non-interactive lecture, and is the student's responsibility to understand and review that information in order to succeed in the class. Many adult learners have families, full-time work, prior commitments to scheduling about their learning. Self-studying, what it does is it allows them to find an appropriate time to read their course material and work without disrupting their everyday lives. Just continuing on it, more recently, online learning has taken a new approach to delivering course materials. Applications such as Google Drive, Google Hangouts, and Blackboard will allow students to take a more collaborative application to their learning. Face-to-face interactions between students, teachers, and their peers allow for the group work that they can develop by many learners and reflect their many experiences. Blended learning is still flexible to each individual's personal lives and allows freedom to study course material when able to, which I'm sure we can all relate to. Online learning models for higher education. One of the models that's used in higher education is blended learning, as many of us know. It uses both face-to-face instruction with web-based teachings, that's taken from Murup and MB 2016. This is done by having both the classroom experience with the required coursework to be completed online, and it allows easy access to course materials and online resources anytime and anywhere, which, in quote, meets the needs of any personal student requirement. That's taken from Senejak 2017. It also provides a more flexible style of learning for students that like to work at their own place. This use of the model has increased due to both students and educators who have agreed on an efficiency and benefits of blended learning method, since it combines the best of both worlds, allowing less costly, time-saving, and more personalized ways of knowledge acquisition. Moving on, online learning model, continue. Another type of online learning model that is used in higher education is asynchronous learning. This type of learning does not happen at the same place or the same time. The term is most commonly applied to various forms of digital and online learning, which students learn from instruction, such as pre-recorded video lessons or game-based learning tasks that students complete on their own, that is not being delivered in person or in real time. It's a hidden curriculum, 2014. This also includes email, discussion boards, or using the course management system as well. This type of learning also allows the learners to process the information they are receiving and have time to research or make response to classmates or the teacher. It's student-centered, where the learner is more in control of the content they are receiving. Asynchronous allows a flexible schedule to those students that are not able to meet in person. Many online courses and programs are designed to be asynchronous, with no requirement for student and the instructor to be logged in at the same time each week. That's taken as a quote from Shannon A. Riggs and Catherine E. Linder, 2016. Moving on to our sixth slide, online learning models for higher education. So there are a few commonalities that come up between blended learning and asynchronous learning. With access to the internet 24/7, both models offer the accessibility to materials, resources, and information anytime and anywhere they need to. They're both cost-effective for students and schools, which is great. Students don't need to spend money on travel or expensive textbooks, and schools can save classroom space as well. Blended and asynchronous learning both promote collaboration and students who can share information and work with other students directly in a collaborative setting have more enriched learning experiences, taken from Epignosis LLC 2014. They also have a lot of flexibility for students that need to work at their own pace or need to be more in control. I for one, I mean, we can all relate on that. The most obvious difference between the two models in the face-to-face interaction. Asynchronous learning does not have a face-to-face interaction, which I was touching on earlier as well in the previous slides. The student also does not require to attend any classroom time as well, and that's definitely a benefit for a lot of us. Moving on to key components of online learning for higher education. We're going to talk about the assessment. What is the outcome and how will it be measured? Well, let's have a clear outcome. What will be required of the learners? What skill levels are required? Are there any prerequisites? Ongoing assessment includes peer and self-assessment, real-time feedback from class and instructors regarding content and performance. There's also assignments and activities. Now, it could be group or individual based on the course material. The group activities are sometimes more beneficial because it's giving people the opportunity to have other people's opinions as well. Moving on to the infrastructure, which is organization and structure. The resources available, well, what technology is available and how will it be used? What content will be incorporated into the course? Readings, videos, assignments. The support behind it, who's facilitating the support, what leadership will be available provided by the institution, and accessibility. How will the learners access the course and the course material? What platforms will be used? Will the courses have both asynchronous and synchronous materials, which we do have in some of our classes online? Moving on to our next slide, we're going to talk about challenges for assessment starting off. Not all students will have the same level of experience with the materials as well as real life experience. For example, some people in this course have experience working in schools, whereas others have experience working in a corporate environment, as we've learned in the past. It's hard to gauge actual participation within group assignments and activities because not all students participate equally when it comes to group assignments or activities, and thus making it hard to actually engage participation for each individual within the peer assessments. Now, the success for assessments. Feedback can be used for improvement, both the course, the instruction of the course, as well as the student's performance. Clear outcome for the course provides learners with a goal for knowledge, so they are aware and how to keep track. This can be done with something like a course outline or weekly check posts on a discussion board, etc., etc. Now, the challenges behind the infrastructure. Technological issues, they can be disruptive if they happen during class. It can be frustrating if they happen on an important platform. For example, if you need to post something on a discussion board and you're unable to access it, like you can't be accessing the internet or Blackboard's down, etc., etc. Support might also not be available when you need it, especially if the situation is time sensitive. It's 11 o'clock at night and you have to post it by 12 and the internet's down and you're freaking out, as one of the examples. But going from negative to the positive, some successes for the infrastructure. There's lots of content available on the internet to incorporate into the course, and also for students to use when researching the assignment and activities. Also, the accessibility. It allows learners to participate at a distance at their own pace, which we were talking about earlier, which is definitely a bonus. And an example of this is pretty much what we're doing now. A lot of you guys are working full-time and still attending classes full-time, and props to all of you guys that are. Now, moving on to our final thing, we're going to talk about the future of what does it look like for higher education. For me, I noticed that there's 7 key trends and patterns according to Contact North, which is Ontario's distant education, and they analyze the patterns of the future for school. So these 7 are demography, structural complexity, changing student expectations, costs and competitiveness, internationalization, technological developments, and global competitiveness. On demography, our birth rate is low in Canada. It's at 1.6. Now, for those of you that don't know what a birth rate is, it's 1.6 for every 1,000 people. And that's very low, and the workforce is going to be affected by that and have a higher need for education for when they're pulling in immigrants to keep up our workforce so that we can sustain our economy. 2, structural complexity. More and more individuals are attending higher education, thus leading for a higher need of education right now. There's a lot of need for, you can't go out there and get a job that's not minimum wage unless you have a diploma or a degree or you've gone to a trade school of some sort. And also higher education in the online sector is cheaper to maintain over general universities and colleges. Number 3, changing student expectations. Students are seeking high-quality programs that have relevance to the workforce. According to Contact North, as the government reduces their per capita expenditure on higher education, the expectation will go up, which, I mean, that's fair to say and makes sense for us. We want our expectations up on higher education. Cost and competitiveness for number 4. With the ability to learn anywhere in the world, with a good connection to the internet, of course, and budgeting a factor for people, online higher education will be needed at an increasing rate to help educate people more and more. Which that kind of somewhat links towards global competitiveness as well, number 7, where we want to make sure that we have the technology to teach people in Canada so we can still make money off of it as well and still build our economy. On number 5, internationalization. With the growth of international student body in Canada continuing to grow, internationalization is number 1 just about learners. It's not, sorry, not number 1. It's not just about the learners, like who the learners are, but also what they're learning. Apologize on that one. And then number 6, technological developments. And I'm pretty sure we can all guess what technological developments are. I mean, it's basing ourselves towards the future and we want it to be better. Thus linking with global competitiveness as well, as I mentioned before. And thank you very much for listening to me for 13 minutes and 22 seconds. And our references are available at the end. Thank you.